Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Usman from Usman Code, and in today's video we are going to see how to read configurations from appSettings.json file in WebAPI. And for the WebAPI, I'm using minimal API because there is no such difference between minimal API and the normal API with the controllers. For minimal APIs, I just want to keep things simple. So I have created a project with minimal API template. How you can create that? If you can go to add new project, although I already have created one, but I just want to show you guys. You will go for web API project, and while creating, you need to uncheck that use controllers checkbox, and that will make your API to a minimal API. So I will close this up, and this is a default template. Now default template comes with the .http file as well. If you don't know what it is, you can check out my other videos. I will try to share its link in the description how to utilize this one. So if we open up program.cs, so this is default code at the moment, and if I run this is the result we are getting, right? So let's utilize this one, this file, and this is basically a file to get the response or to interact with the API. So if I just click on send request, we should be getting a response like that. All right, so let's remove extra things from here, and I will try to clear this up a bit. Let's say I want to just return null for now, and let's just remove all the extra things, although we don't need the authorization at this point, so we can just comment this out just to keep things simple. All right, just a builder with build and app instance, and with app we have one endpoint which is weather forecast. All right, if I now rerun the app and go to here and send the request, yeah, we are getting null reference exception. That's fine. Okay, so next thing, how to read values from this file app settings.json. So let's start with one. Let's say we want to read value of allowed hosts. For that one, what we can do is we need to inject IConfiguration interface here. Can name it config, and for allowed hosts value, and we can say config dot get value, and this is of type string, we know that, and we want to read the same exact key from here, which is allowed hosts. I can pass it here, and we can just return allowed host. Now we rerun the application, go to the endpoint, call the request. Now we are getting static in the response, and status is 200. So we have achieved to read the value from appSettings.json through iConfig interface. And the magic behind is built-in dependency injection for this interface, as if we want to read those config values in case of console application, you have to inject those interfaces or classes manually. And if you want to know, you can check out the whole playlist which I have already created, and that is complete playlist on how to read configuration in different types of projects in .NET using C Sharp, whether it's console, web forms, WPF, MVC application, whatever it is. All right. So in this video, we just want to read the configurations through iConfiguration interface. In our next videos, we will try to cover to use iOptions and iOptions monitor and iOptions snapshot. So, and we will also see what are the difference between all of these and in which particular scenarios we should use them. All right. So we have read that value directly. What if we have a complex object here instead of direct value? So let's say I can say users, just random configuration, right? So there is an object like users, and this object has further properties like name user, and the password is pass. All right, so how we can read that object, or the first of all, let's say the value inside that object. So that is the nested value, right? So in that particular case, we will go to the from root go to users colon name. Let's say we want to read the name configuration from here. So we will say users and colon name. So it means go from top, search for users object, and inside that user object read the property of name, right? And just to keep simple, I'm not changing the variable names here. Let's go back to the endpoint, hit it. Now we are getting value of user. All right. So this is one thing. What about further nesting, right? So in case of that, let's say inside those users, we have another object of types, right? And inside types, we have, let's say title A, right? There is a title of A. So now the path will be users colon types colon title. Users colon types colon title. Let me rerun quickly and just go to the endpoint and see, yes, we are getting A. Awesome. So these are the different ways we can read the value through the get value method. What if we want to grab the whole object instead of the simple type, right? Let's say we have a model. Let's create a quick class here, public user. What was the name of that object? User. So let's say we want to have a user setting, and that is a class. And yeah, so next thing would be what was the further values inside that name and password. We can use name and the password. All right. So we are not using the for the types. We can create one, but let's keep it simple. And we can directly now in that particular case we will not use the value. We will go for get section, and inside get section we need to pass that particular key. So we want to read this user section, right? So we have passed this one and it has two properties. It will ignore the types one. That's fine. So we have two properties, and further we need to call another method which is get, and here we need to pass user setting. All right, like this. So now we are reading the user setting from the appSettings.json file, and we can name it user setting settings, and that will be now user settings. Control F5 quickly rerun the application, send request. Now we are getting the whole object here, right? So it means at any particular time from this object we can further get the exact value. Let's say we just want to access the name. Now the endpoint will give us only the name of the user, which is a user in our case. All right, last thing, do we really need class here because we are just reading the values from configuration? What if we want to use record here instead of a class? What will happen? Let's give it a try. Go to the endpoint, send request and user, nothing happened. And if we just remove the name whole object, refresh the application and send request, now we are getting name and password as it is. So why we are using record here? The main reason is that the records are immutable, which means in simple words, if we use class, we can initialize it with the values, default values. We can rename, we can reset those values anytime, and those are allowed. For the record, it is immutable. We can't change its value once it's initialized, and because it's immutable, if we try to alter the value, we will have another copy of the object, right? So in case of specifically those configurations where we have those settings already placed in appSettings.json, we should not allow our code to change those values once initialized, right? So that in that particular scenario, we should use record. That is one of the scenario, right? So we should prefer to use record instead of class. It's a main simple difference. So that was all for today's video. In the next video, we will try to read those values through option interface, and we will see the benefits of this one, and we will further explore this playlist with different techniques and different types of interfaces. In case of any questions or queries, do ask me in the comments, and see you in the next one.